Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Tian Lu with you on this Friday, June the 12th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, delegates at the Forum on Global Human Rights Governance in Beijing are exploring new approaches to shared challenges. US President Donald Trump says he called off strikes and bombings against Iran scheduled for Thursday night. And the WHO and youth groups are leading awareness campaigns in the eastern DRC amid the Ebola outbreak. In business, China's railway fixed asset investment exceeds 248 billion yuan in the first 5 months. In sports, Mexico opens the World Cup with a victory. In culture and entertainment, the 28th Shanghai International Film Festival. Now checking today's top stories. Delegates at the Forum on Global Human Rights Governance in Beijing have discussed a new vision of joint development and shared human rights. Participants from the Global South are calling for a more balanced approach that puts people's well-being at the center of development. Chen Ziyuan has more.
Climate change, conflict, and widening inequality continue to reshape global development challenges and the human rights agenda. In Beijing, the focus has returned to a key question: how development can better deliver human rights for all.
This year's forum focuses on the theme of joint development, shared human rights, in response to changes in the global human rights landscape and in reflection of the international community's common call. It provides a valuable platform for in-depth exchanges.
China says it supports a human rights path suited to national conditions and calls for a more inclusive and balanced global governance system, with the release of the National Human Rights Action Plan of China for the next 5 years at Thursday's event.
The concept of human rights may seem vague here, but it is relevant to our day-to-day life. Chinese President Xi Jinping has emphasized that the rights to subsistence and development are the primary basic human rights, and that a happy life for people is the ultimate human right.
In this time, a forum like this offers an opportunity for us to have dialogue together about the importance of human rights. Because without promoting human rights and inclusive, sustainable, and participatory development, we cannot really achieve peace. And without peace, we cannot secure human rights and development.
Participants from developing countries at the forum stressed that development is central to addressing human rights challenges. They also call for stronger international cooperation to reduce inequality and close development gaps.
Droughts, climate change, and we have limited resources. But we learned that without development, without water, without housing and food security, other rights remain out of reach. So development for us is not a luxury. It is a precondition to dignity.
Overall, these discussions benefit everyone. This forum on global human rights governance is especially important at a time when the world faces growing inequalities. I believe participants will use these meetings to learn from one another and find common ground to promote development in the field of human rights.
Participants stressed that the right to development remains essential to addressing global human rights challenges. They call for deeper cooperation to bridge divided, reduce inequality, and ensure development benefits are more widely shared. As discussions continue, a common message emerges: the need for a more inclusive global human rights governance system that better reflects the priority and experiences of developing countries.
That was Chen Ziyuan reporting. Delegates at the forum are exploring new approaches to shared challenges, citing the need for constant dialogue and consensus building and what China's global governance initiative can offer. Sun Tianyuan has more.
Inside the conference hall, one question is driving the discussion. As global tensions continue to rise, how can human rights be protected and advanced in an increasingly uncertain world? For many delegates, that question is closely tied to the future of global governance.
What we are seeing around the world, from Iran to Venezuela, Cuba, and other countries in Latin America, shows how powerful states continue to violate human rights. It also reveals how some countries use human rights as a political instrument rather than a genuine commitment to human dignity.
Some argue that today's challenges are exposing gaps in the current global governance system.
We have a great deficit of global governance, and what we are looking at is to advocate for reform within the global governance system.
Against this backdrop, delegates are increasingly looking at new approaches, including China's Global Governance Initiative, or GGI.
This all perspective is about equality, human rights, multilateralism, and also people-centric governments and people's rights.
Many see these principles reflected in the GGI, which has received support from more than 150 countries and international organizations since its launch in 2025.
I think what China is doing now is to open the new option for development of the United Nations through the Global Governance Initiative.
One message echoed through the forum is the importance of finding common ground. Despite different priorities and development paths, many argue that dialogue and cooperation remain essential to advancing human rights.
We exchange ideas and share experiences. Through dialogue, we broaden our perspectives and build common understanding. On that basis, we emphasize solidarity, cooperation, and shared development. I believe that is what matters most.
Bringing together voices from across the Global South and Global North, the forum itself reflects the spirit of dialogue and cooperation at the heart of the Global Governance Initiative. The discussions at a forum reflect different experiences and priorities, but one thing is clear: human rights cannot advance in isolation. And here in Beijing, that shared responsibility is on full display.
That was Sun Tianyuan reporting. Marcela Favretto is the Sustainable Development Chief at the UN Human Rights Office. She welcomed the China-proposed Global Governance Initiative amid declining global development assistance.
Military expenditure reached nearly $3 trillion in 2025, the 11th consecutive year of growth. At the same time, official development assistance declined by 6% in 2024 and fell by a further 23% in 2025. In this context, we welcome the Global Governance Initiative commitment to multilateralism, to the principles of UN Charter, and to the application of international law.
Professor Pascal Milo from the Mediterranean University of Albania says China's human rights model centers on the right to development, a core category of human rights and the basis for many other rights.
China places at the center the right to development, the social stability, the national sovereignty, and international economic cooperation. Of course, there are differences between options. Chinese option has some innovations compared with the Western option of the concept of human rights. I am supporting the concept of development as a core category of the human rights. It is a concept which has to be with the core of the economic development as a basis for securing many other rights in different areas.
International experts and policymakers at the forum have also discussed how to balance green development with human rights protection. Yu Hongyu has more.
Scholars, diplomats, and senior UN officials have gathered here to explore a defining question of our era: Can the world pursue green development without leaving human rights behind? The session brought together over 30 speakers from across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe. Topics range from the rights to development and corporate responsibility to regional cooperation and local level implementation, including China authoring green cooperation, Shanghai U.S. subnational cooperation, and Tianjin's carbon emission trading practices.
As a leading developing country and economic power, China plays a vital role. Chinese enterprises should prioritize human rights in overseas investment and trade, expanding financing guided by the right to development. Meanwhile, public sector policies should further encourage businesses to commit to human rights.
About 80 industry leaders and company reps from China and the U.S. joined our Shanghai North America Clean Tech and Carbon Neutrality Roadshow. Their global tech standards and supply chain experience have been really helpful.
China-African cooperation rooted in mutual respect and co-development. Green development is not a theoretical option, but a strategy for survival and stability. We do not seek passive aid, but an active, innovative partnership, such as technology transfer, clean energy access, digital and legal tech innovation, and direct financing for local adaptation.
Observers note that sustainable growth is inseparable from human rights protection. The global community is calling for a more rational development, where nature and human rights are not competing interests, but a shared future.
That was Yu Hongyu reporting. A British expat who has lived in the central Chinese city of Changsha for nearly 20 years says he has witnessed a remarkable transformation. Damien Braithwaite is a bar owner and a social media influencer. He praised the city's improved infrastructure, including high-speed rail, an expanding subway network, and a modern airport.
Changsha really developed a lot in that time. High-speed train network, the subway network, which is still expanding in Changsha. There's the airport, super modern airport. So in terms of advancement and development and convenience, there's no doubt that Changsha, in the time that I've been here, has improved so much.
Braithwaite noted more parks and greenery enhancing quality of life. He also believes China leads the world in digital development, with smartphone apps making everyday tasks like subway rides, food delivery, and ticket buying incredibly easy.
I think China is the world leader at digital development, no doubt. You just have to look at all the apps, the convenience of those apps and everything that you can do. The way that you can just simply catch the metro or subway or order food delivered probably by a drone or in your hotel room from a hotel robot, or just buying a train ticket or anything. Just find out information so you can have a happier lifestyle. It's all there, the touch of a button on your phone. There's so many apps that can do so much now.
Braithwaite also pointed to dazzling night views and drone light shows as signs of Changsha's rapid modernization. Politicians from several South American countries have visited the Beijing Government Service Center to learn about the city's public service system. They studied the 12345 citizen hotline and the immediate response to complaints system. Chilean politician Yvonne Donoso praised the system for its timely and centralized responses.
This is a tremendous opportunity to learn about the city's citizen service mechanism, which provides such immediate responses to requests that are essential for people making all kinds of inquiries. It is centralized and offers timely, fast responses that precisely address the needs of those who come to the center for assistance. Brazilian official Lucas Corradini noted that using technology to deliver public services helps reduce inequality and poverty.
Technological advancement undoubtedly translates into reduced inequality and poverty, but you cannot talk about poverty reduction without ensuring democratic access to public services. China has achieved this very efficiently through technology and service digitalization.
The delegation said the visit helps share Chinese solutions in urban governance and lays the groundwork for future exchanges. Coming up, US President Donald Trump says he called off strikes and bombings against Iran scheduled for Thursday night.
They're champions, they're trailblazers, and they're only 12 years old. A group of Chinese youngsters has stunned Europe, becoming the first Asian team to win Italy's prestigious Sigismondi Cup, often called the mini World Cup of youth football. What did these players get right? Is this simply a remarkable youth football story? What lessons can China's football system learn? And can this generation finally help China return to the World Cup stage? Join us this week at the Chat Lounge as we explore the victory, the vision, and the future of Chinese football, wherever you listen to podcasts and on CGTN Radio.
Now it's 15 minutes past the hour. US President Donald Trump says he called off strikes and bombings against Iran scheduled for Thursday night. His recall came just hours after he threatened to hit Iran very hard following a second night of attacks by both sides. Trump also repeated his claim that a deal with Iran is close at hand, saying there could be a signing ceremony soon. Walter Morris has more from Washington, D.C.
For the second day in a row, U.S. and Iranian military forces traded strikes overnight. And hours later, U.S. President Donald Trump said he canceled strikes against Iran planned for Thursday because a deal has been approved. That announcement came hours after U.S. Central Command released these images of the latest attacks against Iran. CENTCOM says U.S. military forces targeted surveillance, communications, and air defense sites across the country. The Pentagon says the attacks are in response to Iran's unwanted and continued aggression. And after the U.S. strikes began earlier this week, Iranian officials said the Strait of Hormuz will be shut down and any ship that attempts to cross will be targeted. Now, that warning coming as we're getting a new view of the destruction. Officials say an 11-year-old girl was injured after Iran attacked U.S. military targets in Bahrain. Bahrain's Ministry of the Interior says houses were damaged by falling debris and vehicles caught fire after Iranian drones were intercepted near the capital. Iranian military officials say they also targeted U.S. air bases in Kuwait and Jordan. Then Thursday, the White House announced a tentative deal has been approved. In a social media post, Trump wrote that based on high-level discussions with Iranian leadership, he has, quote, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. Discussions and final points have been in both concept and great detail approved by all parties involved. In addition to the United States and Iran, Trump says the countries included are Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, and Egypt.
We have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape, so we'll see. We'll see. Very good. Should be done. That should be done pretty quickly. They want it every bit as much as everybody else wants it. And I think a lot of good relationships can ensue from this.
Trump says the deal could be signed somewhere in Europe this weekend, and Vice President J.D. Vance will attend.
That was Walter Morris in Washington. Iran says key sections of a potential memorandum of understanding with the U.S. are close to completion. But Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Bagay says Iran will not compromise on its red lines and has not reached a final conclusion on the matter. This comes following a recent round of hostilities from both sides, with Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz to all shipping. From Tehran, Sepah Sarami has more.
Iran's Foreign Ministry has not rejected, has not confirmed. But regarding the place and time of signing, he said, claims the Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei last night said that claims about the time and place of the agreement are merely media speculation. So it did not reject the possibility of signing this deal. Until the relevant authorities here, I think it means Moshtaba Khamenei. But Moshtaba Khamenei, we don't know anything, whether he has confirmed this deal or not. Until the relevant authorities reach a final consensus on each and every component of the agreement text. Talking about the form of signing and its location is of no use. So for now, we don't know whether it's going to be signed in Europe or not, when it's going to be signed, according to Iranian officials. But as I said, the mood is much, much more positive compared to the past weeks. Because as you know, 3 nights ago, Iran was attacked by U.S. And now we are seeing that there might be a kind of deal between the two countries. 3 nights ago, U.S. launched somehow massive strikes on many parts in southern Iran, like Qeshm Island, Hengam Island, Sirik, Bandar Abbas, so different targets were hit by U.S. in south of Iran. And there were clashes in the Strait of Hormuz. Last night, when Trump 2 nights ago, when Trump attacked that area, and also last night Trump threatened to attack more, Iran decided to fully close the Strait of Hormuz. According to Iranian authorities, the strait is closed by IRGC. And last night, again, there were some clashes, according to reports, and some projectiles reportedly were launched from Bandar Abbas. And they say that any ship that wants to pass through the strait should coordinate with IRGC. And for now, according to IRGC Navy, the strait remains fully closed. And also, I have to mention that according to Trump, the naval blockade of Iranian ports is still in force.
That was Sapir Sarami reporting from Tehran. India is demanding the U.S. halt strikes on ships after an attack killed 3 Indian crew members in a tanker off Oman. New Delhi says the U.S. has attacked 3 ships with Indian crews this week. The Indian Foreign Ministry has called for dialogue and diplomacy to ensure a return to peace and stability in the region. Since the U.S. blockade on all vessels entering or leaving Iranian ports began on April the 13th, the U.S. says it has disabled 9 ships it considered non-compliant. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has affirmed U.S. commitment to the alliance. His remarks come amid growing distrust in transatlantic ties and U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated criticism of NATO.
And the answer is yes. The United States remains fully committed to NATO. We see that commitment every day, all over the alliance, with U.S. troops in Europe, U.S. leadership within the alliance, and U.S. contributions to our collective defense.
A European Council survey shows only 11% of Europeans in 15 nations view the U.S. as an ally. The figure is a historical low from 22% in November 2024. Most of the respondents doubt the U.S. will come to their defense in an attack. Coming up, the WHO and youth groups are leading awareness campaigns in the eastern DRC amid the Ebola outbreak.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
Now it's 22 minutes past the hour. The number of confirmed Ebola cases in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has surpassed 670, including over 130 deaths. Health authorities have warned of continued community transmission amid public misconceptions of the disease and response efforts. The WHO and youth networks from the eastern DRC have launched an Ebola awareness campaign to help build trust. Sophia Shimishero reports.
Dozens of motorcycle taxi drivers drove through the streets of Bunia and Rwampara towns in Ituri province on Wednesday. The caravan displayed public health messages and illustrations on how to slow down the Ebola outbreak.
We've seen several people die from this disease. In any case, many people are dying. And that really scares us. But today we are thrilled about this mobilization. We are truly happy.
DRC declared its latest Ebola outbreak on May 15th, and Ituri remains the epicenter, accounting for more than 90% of the cases. However, emergency response efforts in the region remain deadlocked. Misinformation spreading in the communities has discouraged residents from adhering to health warnings or seeking medical help.
So far, we have lost 3 people in my family. I have to say that this disease is real. Those who don't believe it should know it is real.
There has been a lot of skepticism and people still deny the existence of the disease. But this at least allows us to mobilize the public, to raise awareness and to inform them that Ebola exists. There are still some who doubt it.
By mobilizing local actors like motorcycle taxi drivers, the initiative hopes to bridge gaps where formal healthcare efforts have fell on deaf ears.
That was Sophia Shimishero reporting. A UN report says conflict, violence and persecution had displaced more than 117 million people by the end of 2025. The UN Refugee Agency says this marks the first decline in forced displacement in a decade, though levels remain unacceptably high. Among them, nearly 70 million were internally displaced and over 41 million were refugees in other countries. The global refugee population shrank by 3% compared to the end of 2024, largely due to increased returns after major crises such as Afghanistan, Syria and Sudan. The report warns that many returns happened under difficult conditions to fragile areas where rebuilding lives remains a huge challenge. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees says resolving major conflicts would allow more millions to return safely and with dignity. The eastern DRC is also struggling with an internal displacement crisis amid conflicts and insecurity. Children are among the most affected, but a new initiative in Goma is changing their life. Jane Kiyu has details.
Members of the Soga Chess Club collect plastic waste to turn into chess pieces. They use locally available materials such as sacks, plywood and timber to make chessboards. Since the start of the fighting, their Sepe Educational Center has been using chess as a tool for psychosocial support for children at displacement camps in Goma.
We thought of chess as a way of these children to move past their trauma after what they went through during the war. The sounds of gunfire and bombing, some saw their parents killed right in front of them. So to help them forget these images, we need to teach them games that can help them let go of the bad memories they have of the war.
Combining environmental innovation, social inclusion and psychological recovery demonstrates the ability of local communities to devise sustainable solutions to multiple challenges. The Soga Chess Club is turning obstacles into opportunities and using environmental conservation as a driver.
We are all aware that in Kinshasa, DRC, we face a challenge with plastic waste and so on. That is why we launched these programs to recycle plastic bottles and produce chess sets, which we will distribute to the community. The proceeds from their sale will, of course, fund all of these initiatives.
The Soga Chess Club, launched in 2020, continues to be living proof that difficult circumstances can be addressed through innovation and a look to a brighter future.
That was Jane Kiyu reporting. Anti-immigration tensions have risen in the UK following a knife attack in Belfast. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of the city in Northern Ireland after footage of the attack circulated online. The Canadian government has introduced a digital safety bill to ban children under 16 from having social media accounts. The bill also requires artificial intelligence chatbot services to limit production of harmful content. Identity and Culture Minister Mark Miller explained the reasons behind the legislation.
And we've seen the tragic consequences of online harm both around the world and here in Canada, and the safety of children can't be an afterthought. We need basic protection in place so every child in this country can be safe on platforms they use every day. This is why we are introducing the Safe Social Media Act. The Act will require social media platforms and AI chatbot services to do more to protect children and make their platforms safe by design.
The proposal follows Australia's enactment of the world's first social media ban for young people in December. Now it's 29 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast before the break. Beijing will have thunder showers tonight and tomorrow. The low is 20 and it's up to 25 on Saturday. Shanghai will be overcast tonight, tomorrow light rain with a low of 24 and a high of 28. Chongqing will have light rain tonight, becoming cloudy with a low of 20 and a high of 28. Nanchang will see light rain tonight, tomorrow moderate rain with a low of 23 and a high of 24. Lhasa will have showers tonight, becoming cloudy with a low of 13 and a high of 26. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see light rain tonight and tomorrow. The low is 23 and is up to 34 on Saturday. Vientiane will have heavy rain tonight, easing to light tomorrow with a low of 24 and a high of 32. Phnom Penh will see moderate rain tonight, easing to light tomorrow with a low of 26 and a high of 34. In Africa, Nairobi will have light rain tonight and tomorrow the low is 14 and it's up to 23 on Saturday. Now it's time for a short break. So far this hour, delegates at the Forum on Global Human Rights Governance in Beijing are exploring new approaches to shared challenges. US President Donald Trump says he called off strikes and bombings against Iran scheduled for Thursday night. Tian Lu with you. Stay with here on the Beijing Hour.
From the refreshing cup of tea that starts your morning to the paper that you write on, the roots of many familiar parts of modern life can be traced back to ancient ideas. Join us on Made in Ancient China and discover how ideas born millennia ago became some of the world's greatest treasures. Made in Ancient China brings you stories of human ambition, inspiration, and connection. Now available on all major podcast platforms.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Tian Lu with you on this Friday. Still to come, in business, China's railway fixed asset investment exceeds 248 billion yuan in the first 5 months. In sports, Mexico opens the World Cup with a victory. In culture and entertainment, the 28th Shanghai International Film Festival. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTN Radio. You're also welcome to subscribe to our Substack newsletter Beyond Beijing for the world's biggest stories, along with sharp insights and exclusive analysis. But first, checking today's headlines. China says it will steadfastly expand high-standard opening up and continue to share development opportunities with other countries and deliver more certainty and stability to the world economy. Vice Premier Zhang Guoqin has addressed the World Convergence Summit for Growth via video at the invitation of the French government. He called for prioritizing development, improving global governance, and promoting inclusive growth of the world economy. French President Emmanuel Macron chaired the summit, which was attended by leaders and high-level representatives from countries including Germany, Canada, and India. The Chinese Foreign Ministry says President Min Aung of Myanmar will pay a state visit to China starting Monday. Beijing says they are traditional friends and close neighbors building a community with a shared future. China looks forward to working with Myanmar to deepen cooperation and deliver greater benefits to people of both countries. Concurrently, Nepalese Foreign Minister Shisa Kanal is scheduled to arrive in China on Sunday for a full-day official visit. Beijing has expressed a willingness to deepen political mutual trust with Kathmandu and jointly advance Belt and Road cooperation. Shanxi province has recently passed new legislation to protect its 1,400-kilometer stretch of the Great Wall, which ranks third longest in China. Effective July the 5th, the regulations aim to balance preservation with public use. The province is addressing challenges like funding shortages and weak coordination while promoting research and the construction of the Great Wall National Cultural Park. It will establish a unified digital platform using satellite and drone monitoring. The move follows damage to a Ming Dynasty section caused by illegal mining earlier this year, leading to criminal charges against 4 individuals. A local protector says the new law has a significant deterrent effect. Seoul Central District Court has sentenced former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol to a 30-year prison term on general treason. Yoon was accused of ordering the drone infiltration into the Democratic People's Republic of Korea with the intent of militarily provoking the DPRK in a bid to create a pretext for his martial law declaration in December 2024. Thailand's royal palace says Princess Bajra Kittiyabaha has died at the age of 47. She was King Maha Vajiralongkorn's eldest daughter and had spent nearly 4 years in a coma. The UN chief is urging the US and Iran to maintain a ceasefire and avoid expanding their conflict into neighboring countries. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric repeated the Secretary General's statement on Thursday, saying continued strikes could restart full-scale war with unpredictable global consequences.
He urges the parties to return to the full implementation of the ceasefire to avoid any further deterioration, which, as he told the Security Council yesterday, could trigger full resumption of the conflict with unpredictable consequences for the region and the world, especially for those in the most vulnerable countries.
The Secretary General called on both sides to reach an agreement. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said he called off military strikes on Iran, claiming a breakthrough in talks just hours after threatening to seize Iran's oil industry. Trump has repeatedly suggested a deal is close, but no agreement has been reached. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said mediators are active, but nothing is finalized. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China's railway fixed asset investment exceeds 248 billion yuan in the first 5 months.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
36 minutes past the hour, turning to business. Here's Wang Zihang.
Thank you, Tianlu. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed higher on Friday. The Shanghai Composite was up around 1.1%. The Shenzhen component gained nearly 0.8%. Industrial, metal and aerospace equipment shares were among the top gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index increased over 1.9%. Japan's Nikkei climbed more than 2.8%. China's fixed asset investment in railways exceeded 248 billion yuan in the first 5 months of the year. That's around $36.7 billion, a yearly increase of 2.6%, already nearly a third of last year's total. Industry analysts say this level of investment signals a strategic shift. China is no longer just building the world's longest high-speed railway network. This year, the focus is on connecting networks, filling gaps and strengthening industrial chains, serving regional economic and social development. The Xi'an to Shiyan high-speed railway is now at the trial operation phase, making final preparations before opening to traffic at the end of June. Wang Hongtao with China Railway Xi'an Group says during the testing phase, there were hundreds of train runs, including at the maximum speed of 385 kilometers per hour.
The trial operation will last no less than 1 month and will be carried out in 3 stages: operational parameter testing, emergency rescue drills, and timetable-based train operation. These efforts will provide a solid foundation for the smooth opening and a safe operation of the line.
Once open, the Xi'an line will cut travel time between Xi'an and Wuhan from roughly 5 hours to under 2.5, effectively merging central and northwestern China into a faster, more integrated economic zone. The railway investment includes new tracks, tunnels and stations. But more than that, it drives economic activity today while building long-term infrastructure for the future. A cargo tricycle built in a small county in eastern China is helping reshape livelihoods thousands of kilometers away in Indonesia. For one entrepreneur, it became the foundation of a business spanning 4 major islands and dozens of storefronts in a country hungry for affordable short-distance cargo transportation. Jiang Tao has the story.
When Lan Meishuan talks about electric cargo tricycles, she sounds less like a vehicle dealer, and more like someone describing a life-changing opportunity. The founder of Indonesian electric tricycle brand Rodian now oversees 37 stores across Java, Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Sulawesi. For years, she searched for a practical solution to a common challenge in Indonesia: moving goods affordably and efficiently. She found it in a three-wheeled vehicle from China.
It immediately caught my attention. We had a real need, and the product fit perfectly.
The vehicle features a 2.2-meter cargo bed capable of carrying up to 3 tons. More importantly, it costs far less than conventional transport vehicles available locally.
The price was at least 6 times lower than other cargo vehicles, and the quality was excellent.
As a tropical country where households often rely on large bottled water deliveries, Indonesia has long had a strong demand for short-distance freight transportation. Lan saw an opportunity. By sourcing components from China and building her own local brand, she gradually established a foothold in one of Southeast Asia's most competitive markets.
We still rely heavily on China's support. Components are often more expensive in Indonesia, and the quality isn't always as consistent. When it comes to both cost and reliability, we trust Chinese suppliers.
The supply chain behind Lan's business leads to Fengshan County in Jiangsu Province. The county produces more than 60% of China's electric tricycles and over 95% of its electric models. Vehicles made there are exported to more than 130 countries and regions. One of Lan's suppliers operates in Fengshan. Liu Yinghu, the company's senior manager, says demand has been rising steadily. What was once seen as a simple utility vehicle has evolved significantly. Today's models can be equipped with solar charging panels, high-capacity batteries, and intelligent power systems.
People value these vehicles because they are practical and affordable. At the same time, China's manufacturing capabilities have improved significantly, allowing us to better meet the needs of overseas customers.
His company only began aggressively expanding overseas last year. This year, sales in Southeast Asia are expected to grow by 30 to 40%. Another manufacturer, Shuzhou Zhibo Locomotives, is seeing similar momentum. The company produces up to 300,000 vehicles a year, with overseas markets accounting for nearly half of its sales. Operations manager Zhang Tianling says years of investment in technology and quality have helped drive that growth.
The vehicles are designed to solve what logistics experts call the last mile problem. They can travel directly into farmland, transport crops and supplies throughout the day, recharge after work, and return to operation the next morning.
The company's products are now sold in more than 15 countries and regions. For entrepreneurs like Lan, the appeal is clear. She believes electric cargo tricycles will eventually replace many fuel-powered vehicles in Indonesia, creating new opportunities for business while supporting a cleaner transport future. For the Beijing Hour, this is Jiang Tao.
Foreign trade in the 9 mainland cities in the Greater Bay Area went up 18.8% in the first 5 months of the year. The 9 cities in the Greater Bay Area include Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Zhuhai in Guangdong Province. Data from the General Administration of Customs shows the total imports and exports of the 9 mainland cities reached nearly 4.3 trillion yuan from January to May. That's around $636 billion, accounting for almost 21% of the national total. The city's exports amounted to over 2.5 trillion yuan, up 10.7%, while their imports reached nearly 1.8 trillion yuan, up 33% compared with the same period last year. Imports of computers and computer components totaled 254 billion yuan, up 50%. High-tech products led the way for export growth in these cities. The export of 3D printers surged 120%, while that of digital cameras increased 71%. Together with the Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions, these cities form one of China's most dynamic economic hubs. The International Monetary Fund has downgraded its 2026 growth forecast for the Eurozone and raised its inflation outlook, citing persistent energy shocks linked to the Middle East conflict. According to the IMF, Eurozone growth is now expected to reach just 0.9% this year, down from the 1.1% projected in April. Inflation is forecast to hit 2.8%, up from an earlier estimate of 2.6%. The fund warned that prolonged energy disruptions could push inflation even higher. It also suggested the European Central Bank may need to raise interest rates again this year, with cumulative hikes totaling 50 basis points. In a clear caution to Eurozone finance ministers, the IMF advised against broad fiscal support to offset high energy costs, urging more targeted measures instead. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, has cut its forecast for global oil demand this year for the second consecutive month. OPEC says it expects 2026 demand to rise by 970,000 barrels per day. That's down from nearly 1.2 million barrels it forecast in May and over 1.3 million in April. OPEC says the downward revision is due to reduced demand from developing and emerging economies. Elon Musk's rocket and satellite company SpaceX has raised $75 billion through the sale of about 555 million shares, pricing its initial public offering at $135 per share. The IPO values the company at nearly $1.8 trillion. That would make it the largest initial public offering in history. Based on the valuation, SpaceX would rank among the top 10 most valuable US-listed companies. Elon Musk will retain strong voting control over the company after the IPO. Given Musk's large stake in SpaceX, the valuation could significantly increase the value of his holdings and make him the world's first trillionaire. SpaceX shares will begin trading on the Nasdaq on Friday.
Thank you very much. Now is Wang Zihang with business. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, Mexico opens the World Cup with a victory.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
46 minutes past the hour, turning to sports. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Tianlu. The first ever 48-team FIFA World Cup got underway in Mexico City on Thursday, with the co-host Mexico defeating South Africa 2-0 in the tournament's opening match. More than 80,000 fans packed the stadium for a colorful opening ceremony celebrating pre-Hispanic culture. Colombian singer Shakira performed the 2026 World Cup anthem as fireworks lit up the sky, marking the start of football's biggest tournament. Mexico took control early and carried that momentum through much of the match. South Africa's challenge became even more difficult after a player was sent off early in the second half, while 2 more red cards were shown during a heated finish. Despite the victory, Mexico coach Javier Aguirre said his team still has room for improvement.
We didn't play well in the first half, although we could easily have been 3-0 up by halftime. If it was a 3-0 game, no one would have betted an eye. The second goal plus their players' ejection gave the impression that it made us relax, and we weren't direct enough. But hey, for the first game, starting with a win, I think that's a good result. We can improve, of course, and we must as well.
Mexico's winning start gives the co-hosts an early boost as the expanded World Cup begins its month-long journey across North America. And joining me in the studio is Tian Yu, my colleague, for more game analysis. And let me ask you this first. The opener produced 3 red cards, 3 sent-offs. That's big. What does that tell us about this World Cup?
Well, I think it sends an early message about how matches will be officiated at this tournament, because the referee wasn't afraid to make big decisions, and the VAR also played a very important role. 3 red cards in an opening match are extremely rare, or you could say unprecedented.
Yeah.
So I think players and coaches around the world were definitely paying attention to that. So I think it suggests that dangerous challenges and violent conduct won't be tolerated, and this could influence how teams approach the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, a brutal start to the World Cup. Meanwhile, in another Group A match of the day, South Korea came from behind to defeat the Czech Republic 2-1 in Guadalajara, earning a winning start to its FIFA World Cup campaign. After a scoreless first half, the Czech Republic broke the deadlock just before the hour mark. However, South Korea responded quickly, equalizing through Hwang In-byeon after a setup from Lee Kang-in. With the match still left lane and entering the closing stages, substitutes Hong Hee-gun scored a decisive goal in the 80th minute to complete the comeback and secure all 3 points for the Asian side. South Korea head coach Hwang In-byeon praised his players' determination and teamwork after the match.
Today's match was the first match in this World Cup for our players, so I could feel some tension from them. Before the match, I gave 2 messages to the players to not give up until the end and to unite as one and play the game together. The players fulfilled these 2 messages really well. I want to congratulate them again.
The result gives South Korea an early boost in Group A, while the Czech Republic's return to the World Cup after a 20-year absence ended in disappointment. And here, let me bring you back, Tian Yu. After beating the Czech Republic, how likely are South Korea to reach the knockout stage?
Yeah, I would say their chances look very good right now. 3 points from the first match gives them a major advantage, especially under the new format. And according to some early projections, their qualification probability is already above 90%. And right now, I think it's fair to say that nothing is guaranteed. But South Korea have put themselves in an excellent position, and now they have room to approach the next games with confidence rather than pressure.
Right, thank you very much. That was my colleague Tian Yu. Meantime, World Cup co-hosts the United States and Canada are set to play their opening group stage matches on home soil. In Los Angeles, the United States faces Paraguay in the highly anticipated Group D clash. Paraguay is making its first World Cup appearance since 2010 and arrives after a strong qualifying campaign in South America. Team USA, led by coach Mauricio Pochettino, have shown encouraging form in recent warm-up matches and will also face Australia and Turkey in the group stage. US midfielder Tyler Adams expects a tough battle against the South Americans.
It's definitely going to be competitive. I know that anytime we've had the opportunity to play against a South American team, it gets feisty, it gets scrappy. You need to be able to cope with the emotional part of that game, though. You don't want to do anything stupid, reckless, let the game take advantage of you. So we need to, again, be ourselves in those scenarios, not let the game dictate too much of what we're going to do and try and dictate the game ourselves.
Meanwhile, in Toronto, Canada will play the first World Cup match in the country's history as the tournament host when it takes on Bosnia and Herzegovina in Group B. Canada will play all 3 of its group matches on home soil as it looks to advance beyond the first round for the first time. Although Captain Alphonso Davies is unavailable through injury, head coach Jesse Marsh remains optimistic after receiving positive medical updates. Midfielder Liam Miller says the team is approaching the tournament with confidence and belief.
Anything's possible, in the world. I think we're just going to be calm, but believe in ourselves and know that we can achieve anything because this is the beauty of football, is that anything is possible, we can do anything. But I think a lot of us are really calm about this tournament, and we just want to go out there and make Canada proud.
With passionate home support behind them, both teams will be aiming to make a strong start with their World Cup campaigns.
Thank you very much, and that was Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, the 28th Shanghai International Film Festival.
Pause Plus, a selection of the best podcasts in China, covering history, customs, music, literature, and in-depth dialogues. Find your way to a wealth of Chinese culture and thinking, all on Pause Plus.
Now it's 52 minutes past the hour. The 28th Shanghai International Film Festival opens on Friday, drawing strong international participation and highlighting the growing global reach of the event. Organizers say the festival has received around 4,100 film submissions from 125 countries and regions. They include first-time entries from nations such as Ghana and Mozambique. The number of submissions from the Americas and Africa has also seen notable growth. This year's Golden Goblet Awards competition features a record share of world premieres, with more than 80% of selected films debuting at the festival. The lineup represents 34 countries and regions, reflecting the festival's increasing international diversity. In addition to film screenings, the festival will host a series of forums and dialogues focusing on technology, filmmaking, youth development, and international cooperation. Industry leaders, filmmakers, and festival organizers from around the world will discuss emerging trends and the future development of the film industry. Greek and Chinese archaeologists have joined forces at a site in western Greece where an ancient city still lies underground. Evangela Sipses reports.
This is Agilokastro in Netolokarnania in western Greece, a quiet field today, but archaeologists say it holds the remains of an important ancient city of Central Aetolia, first known as Konopi and later renamed Arsinoi.
Here, the remains of this ancient city are located, and to this day they have never been systematically excavated.
Now Agilokastro is becoming the starting point for Greece and China's first joint field project in archaeology. The 5-year program brings together the Greek Ministry of Culture, the local Ephraim of Antiquities, and the Chinese School of Classical Studies at Athens. The focus is around 5 hectares of land, where archaeologists hope to map the city, study its remains, and understand its place in the ancient world.
We're all very interested in the early communications between civilizations. So I think that's one of the important reasons for we together to make agreement to start our research at the site.
Here at Agilokastro, the story is still being uncovered. What looks like an open land may contain streets, buildings, cemeteries, and a layout of an ancient city. For archaeologists, it is scientific work. For Greece and China, it is a practical test of cooperation in the field, layer by layer, find by find. And Agilokastro is not happening in isolation. As Athens hosts the Second World Conference of Classics, the project gives the gathering something tangible, not just debate about the ancient world, but a real excavation where 2 ancient civilizations are working side by side.
We share this common point. China and Greece both have extremely ancient civilizations, and of course each side appreciates that in the other.
2 ancient civilizations working together to uncover an ancient city and build relations in the modern world.
That was Evangela Sipses reporting. The 2026 Chinese Film Festival is underway in Russia, bringing a selection of contemporary Chinese films to Russian audiences to strengthen cultural ties between the 2 countries. The festival features 6 Chinese productions across genres, including action, animation, drama, and comedy, highlighting modern Chinese life and culture. The opening film was the comedy adventure Lychee Road, while the lineup also includes the Chinese-Russian co-production Red Silk. Now it's 57 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast for the day. Beijing will have thunder showers tonight and tomorrow. The low is 20 and it's up to 25 on Saturday. Shanghai will be overcast tonight, tomorrow light rain with a low of 24 and a high of 28. Chongqing will have light rain tonight, becoming cloudy with a low of 20 and a high of 28. Nanchang will see light rain tonight, tomorrow moderate rain with a low of 23 and a high of 24. Lhasa will have showers tonight, becoming cloudy with a low of 13 and a high of 26. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see light rain tonight and tomorrow. The low is 23 and it's up to 34 on Saturday. That's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour, making news today. Delegates at the Forum on Global Human Rights Governance in Beijing are exploring new approaches to shared challenges. US President Donald Trump says he called off strikes and bombings against Iran scheduled for Thursday night. On behalf of the staff, this is Tianlu in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio